I never expected my life to unravel in a single evening. 3 years together, countless memories, a relationship I thought was built on trust, all of it reduced to a smirk and a few cruel words. She admitted to cheating on me, not with regret, not even with hesitation, but with something close to amusement. As if she had been waiting for this moment, anticipating my reaction like it was some twisted form of entertainment. I needed a real man, she said, sipping her smoothie, eyes gleaming with something that wasn't quite guilt but rather satisfaction. I stood there, the weight of her words pressing down on me, suffocating yet clarifying. But the betrayal didn't stop with her. The people I had called my friends, those I had trusted, laughed with, shared moments of my life with, they had known. Worse, they had taken her side. Bro, you're great, but Allison deserves someone more established. Don't take it personally, Jacob texted when I asked if it was true. Chloe added, we didn't want to hurt you, but maybe this is the wake-up call you need. A wake-up call. That's what they called it. As if I had been asleep, oblivious, while they all watched my relationship decay from the sidelines, smirking behind my back. She was still watching me, waiting for the explosion, the anger, the outrage. She wanted a scene, something dramatic to validate whatever story she was about to spin. Instead, I smiled. A real, genuine smile. Without another word, I turned and walked to our bedroom, pulled out my go-bag, the one I always kept packed for spontaneous weekend trips, and grabbed my laptop and keys. I moved with a calmness that seemed to unsettle her. Where are you going? She demanded, her smirk faltering. Out, I said simply. Then, after a beat, I added, and keep the apartment. I'm sure Jay can help with the rent. I didn't wait for her response. I closed the door behind me, cutting off whatever excuse or insult she had lined up. My phone buzzed in my pocket, no doubt the beginning of a flood of messages from our so-called friends, but I ignored it. Instead, I drove. Nowhere in particular, just away. And for the first time in a long while, I felt like I was finally heading in the right direction. A new perspective. 2 days passed before I turned my phone back on. 32 missed calls. 47 unread messages. Most were from Allison. Some from Jacob and Chloe. A few from numbers I didn't recognize. But what caught my attention wasn't the messages, it was the storm brewing on social media. Allison had been busy. According to her posts, I had been a controlling, jealous boyfriend, monitoring her every move. She painted a picture of emotional manipulation, isolation from her friends, and, most absurdly, financial abuse because I had made her split the bills 50/50. Rich, considering she earned more than I did and had insisted on that arrangement herself. Her crowning achievement? A tearful video detailing how she had escaped from a toxic relationship, her voice trembling as she recounted fabricated stories of mistreatment. The comments were flooded with sympathy. People who had once smiled at me, celebrated birthdays with me, were now offering her their unwavering support, calling me things I couldn't even bring myself to read. Then came a message from Gemma, a co-worker. Hey, you might want to check your email. Something's going around the office about you. My stomach twisted as I opened my inbox. A company-wide email about maintaining a safe and professional workplace environment had been sent out. No names mentioned, but the timing wasn't subtle. Allison hadn't just tried to destroy my reputation in our social circle, she was taking it further. I should have been furious. Maybe I should have fought back, defended myself, posted my side of the story. Instead, I just felt tired. Curious, even. How far would she go? Apparently, pretty far. When I stopped by a local coffee shop, the one place I figured would be safe, considering Allison had always hated their coffee, the barista, who had once been friendly, looked at me with open disdain. Later, I found out why. Allison had been going there, weaving her sob story for anyone who would listen. But then came the twist. While picking up some clothes from storage, I ran into Juliana, one of Allison's closest friends. She hesitated before approaching me, glancing around as if afraid to be seen. You need to be careful, she whispered. Jay's wife, she's connected. Really connected. And Allison's been telling her that you're unstable. Dangerous, even. I frowned. Why are you telling me this? Juliana sighed, lowering her voice. Because this isn't the first time. Before you, there was another guy at work. Allison and Jay, they did the same thing to him. He left town. A chill ran down my spine. This wasn't just infidelity. It wasn't just betrayal. It was calculated. Deliberate. A pattern. That night, I didn't sleep. Instead, I started digging, legal records, social media, anything that could connect the dots. And what I found changed everything. Looking back, the signs were there, scattered like breadcrumbs over the last few months of our relationship. But when you've been with someone for years, you convince yourself that trust matters more than suspicion. You tell yourself that love means giving the benefit of the doubt. That was my mistake. It started with the little things, working late more often, the new perfume I didn't recognize, unfamiliar clothes appearing in our closet. Her phone, once left unattended without a second thought, became an extension of her hand, always locked, always within reach. I wasn't the jealous type. Never had been. But something felt different. The way she tensed when I hugged her from behind while she was texting. The way she stepped out to take calls she claimed were work-related. The sudden, endless girls' nights with people whose names I had never heard before. The breaking point came one evening as I was folding laundry. Her phone lit up on the coffee table. A message preview from someone named Jay flashed across the screen. "Miss you already. Last night was." The rest was cut off, but I didn't need to see more. When she got home, she was in the kitchen, blending a smoothie like nothing was wrong. I leaned against the doorframe, watching her, my voice steady when I finally spoke. "Who's Jay?" The way her posture stiffened was instant. But what I wasn't expecting was the smirk that followed. Not guilt. Not shame. Wondering when you'd finally catch on, Michael. She sipped from her glass, her voice dripping with amusement. "Jay's my boss. And yes, I've been sleeping with him for the past 2 months." A casual confession, like she was announcing a change in weekend plans. I felt nothing at first. Just a quiet, eerie clarity. She leaned against the counter, her smirk widening. "I needed a real man," she added, voice laced with condescension. "Someone who knows what he wants and goes for it. Not someone who spends his weekends playing video games with Jacob and watching stupid movies." 3 years together. And this was how she saw me. I glanced at her, then at my phone. One question burned in my mind. "Does Chloe know?" I asked, thinking of the mutual friend who had introduced us. Her smirk turned into a full grin. "Oh, she's known for weeks. Most of our friends know." She let out a little laugh. "They understand. Jay can actually provide a future. Not just dreams and excuses." That hurt more than the cheating. These were the people I had trusted. People I had celebrated birthdays with, shared holidays with, invited into my home. And they had been watching this unfold, silently choosing their sides, probably whispering behind my back. I pulled out my phone, opened my group chat with Jacob and Chloe, and typed a simple message. "Is this true? You all knew?" Jacob responded first. "Bro, you're great, but Allison deserves someone more established. Don't take it personally." Chloe chimed in seconds later. "We didn't want to hurt you. Maybe this is the wake-up call you need." That was it. That was all I needed. I looked up from my phone to find Allison watching me, waiting for the explosion, the breakdown, the reaction she could use to paint me as the villain. Poor, immature Michael losing his cool. Instead, I smiled. A real, genuine smile. And that seemed to unnerve her more than anything. Without another word, I turned and walked to our bedroom, pulled out the go-bag I always kept packed for weekend trips, grabbed my laptop, and picked up my keys. When I passed through the kitchen again, Allison's smirk was gone. "Where are you going?" she demanded, her voice sharp. "Out." I paused at the door, not bothering to look back. "And Allison? Keep the apartment. I'm sure Jay can help with the rent." I heard her sputtering as I walked out, but I didn't stop to listen. My phone was already buzzing with messages from so-called friends trying to explain themselves. I turned it off. And for the first time in months, I felt free. 2 days passed before I turned my phone back on. 32 missed calls. 47 text messages. Most from Allison, some from Jacob and Chloe, a few from unknown numbers. But what caught my attention was the social media storm. Allison had been busy. According to her Instagram story, I was a controlling, jealous boyfriend who monitored her every move. She claimed I had emotionally manipulated her, isolated her from friends, and, in the grand finale, thrown a violent tantrum when she finally stood up for herself. The comments poured in. Hundreds of them. Sympathy. Support. People I thought were mutual friends taking her side without hesitation. And then there was the crown jewel, a tearful video where she accused me of financial abuse, claiming I forced her to split bills 50/50ths while I hoarded my money. Rich, considering she earned more than me and had insisted on that arrangement herself. Then came the message from Gemma, a co-worker I'd known for years. "Hey, you might want to check your email. Something's going around the office about you." Sure enough, there it was. A company-wide email about creating a safe workplace environment, a thinly veiled reference to recent concerning behaviors from certain employees. No names mentioned, but the timing was obvious. I wasn't even angry. Just curious. How far would she take this? As it turned out, pretty damn far. The coffee shop I used to frequent, the barista who had always been friendly now looked at me like I was something stuck to the bottom of her shoe. Later, I found out why. Alison had been making that place her personal stage, sharing her survival story with anyone who would listen. But then, something shifted. While grabbing a few things from storage, I ran into Juliana, Alison's supposed best friend. She looked nervous, glancing around like she was afraid of being seen talking to me. "You need to be careful," she whispered. "Jay isn't just her boss. His wife, she's connected. Really connected. And Alison's been telling her you're unstable. Dangerous." I stared at her. "Why are you telling me this?" Juliana hesitated, then sighed. "Because this isn't the first time." She lowered her voice. "Before you, there was another guy at work. Alison and Jay, they did the same thing to him. He ended up leaving town. That changed everything. That night, I started digging. Legal records. Social media. Old employee directories. And then I found him. Mark. The guy who had disappeared. His social media. Gone. His LinkedIn. Inactive. It was like he had been erased. And then, this morning, my phone buzzed with an Instagram message request. The profile picture was of a woman in her 40s. Elegant. Poised. Wearing expensive jewelry. The message was simple. "I believe we need to talk about my husband and your girlfriend. Coffee tomorrow." It was signed Mrs. J. I checked my watch. I was meeting her in an hour. And something told me Alison's real man story was about to get a lot more complicated.